11 minutes in, he yet again tries to discredit Caiti because Caiti said that she had no idea when her friend left, and George said that her friend left when she threw up in her hands, which Caiti then says that her friend got up multiple times throughout the night and threw up multiple times throughout the night, and she had no idea if this was going to be her last time throwing up or if she was going to go to the bathroom and come back or just go to their room. They did not communicate that she was leaving. This is because George is claiming that Caiti chose to stay after her friend left, even though in both of their statements, Caiti could not have chosen to stay if she did not know her friend was not coming back. And I'm saying that because Caiti obviously understands the importance of women being there for each other, because Caiti chose to go to the second after party because her friend did not feel comfortable going alone. And she probably also wanted to make sure that her very much drunk friend was properly accounted for before leaving that room. It seemed like from both of their statements that Caiti was not leaving that room unless her friend left as well. She just did not know when her friend happened to leave. This, in my opinion, is another evidence of George lying or assuming things without verifying the truth, and or is intentionally lying and trying to manipulate the situation to fit whatever narrative he wants. However, people are still not calling George a liar and are still insisting that Caiti lied just because she did not care enough to talk about the entire detail of the whole night. 13 minutes in, he talks about how he had no idea she was uncomfortable. This, in my opinion, is another contradiction because in his first video he said he was sure Caiti was comfortable, and the only reason why she changed her mind was because her friends was influencing her to change her mind about the interaction that happened that day. This is very different from saying that he did not know Caiti was uncomfortable. Being sure that someone is comfortable means that there is a 0% chance that person is uncomfortable, and not being sure if someone is uncomfortable means that there's a chance that that person was not uncomfortable. And since George claimed to be an expert in her body language, why did he not check to see if she was comfortable? Why did George not check to make sure that Caiti was comfortable if he was not sure that she was comfortable? If you're going to read someone's body language, you have to be sure, and if you're not sure, you're supposed to ask for clarification, which is something George did not do. George then proceeds to talk about something that is irrelevant but is very suspect to me, because he goes out of his way to talk about someone called Harry, and Harry accusing Dream of assaulting Caiti. And I'm just like, why are you going to worry about Dream's accusations when this is your video to address what you've been accused of? But I digress. Like Caiti said before, they allegedly cover for each other, so he probably used part of this video to clarify that Dream is not a creepy person, but whatever that means. I'm not sure how this is supposed to help George in any way, because this just proves that a normal person like Harry acknowledges the fact that, I guess in this case, Dream being 24 years old should not be seeking adult favors from a person who happens to be 18, and George being 26 years old literally makes that worse, in my opinion. This does not mean that George did not do anything wrong. Like I said earlier in this video, George is not Dream and Dream is not George. 23 minutes in, George flat out denies assaulting Caiti because he had a completely different intention than what Caiti is painting him out to be. And then he proceeds to say something stupid like they both agreed on how the night went, but they don't agree on what his intentions were, whatever that means. All I have to say is that it was not unintentional when George intentionally put his hands on her body while intentionally not asking for her consent, because George intentionally felt that he knew her well enough to be able to intentionally read her body language and convince himself that he knew what she thought. And when he was touching her intentionally without her consent, it was unintentional when she froze and her heart started to race at the sight of him. It was unintentional when she felt dirty because he intentionally touched her without her consent. It is unintentional that she can no longer have a normal human connection with people because George intentionally touched her without her consent. It is unintentional on her part when she feels hate for the world and for herself because of the actions George intentionally took and how those actions are affecting Caiti. George can defend his intentions all he wants, but the effects those intentions have on Caiti are unintentional on her part. So he should be held 100% accountable for his intentions and his actions, because actions are the things that have consequences and not intentions. And George, until you take responsibility for your actions against Caiti, she is the one dealing with the consequences. George says that he does not pay attention to his influence, or he has never had to think about it, while in my my opinion, attempting to use his influence to bully Kaiti into agreeing with everything he said and agreeing that his intentions were not what she was making it out to be. Knowing that that is the exact narrative people are trying to push on Kaiti, changing the conversation from what she touched without her consent to what were the intentions behind her being touched without her consent. That's bullshit. The craziest part of all of this to me is that there is more, because at the end of George's second video, he talks about how out of respect for Kaiti, he will not say anything else because she did not go into further details about what happened at the night of her alleged assault, which means that there's more of him potentially doing things to make her uncomfortable, because those are the things that he does not want to talk about, that Kaiti did not bring up. George is out here trying to get people to believe that what he did was tame based off of his experiences compared to her, which I just find to be disrespectful, that he thinks it's up to him to determine if what he did was tamed or untamed. This is messed up, because I hate that we talk about sexual assault in a way of what is violent or a forced experience. A bad experience is a bad experience. I'm tired of people trying to create a hierarchy of oppression or hierarchies to sexual assault. Oppression is oppression and sexual assault is sexual assault. I don't think it's fair that George is trying to compare his alleged assault to Kaiti's experience, which in my opinion is him trying to invalidate her experience based on the different experience he had had before. What Kaiti is accusing him of and what George is alleged happened to him are two different things. For example, he liked an experience and then regretted it later. That is not the same as Kaiti saying that she did not like the experience while it was happening or after it happened. She said that she did not know how to feel about it, especially since it was done to her by someone she idolized at that time. It was still a bad experience. The reason why it was complicated is because this was done to her by someone she looked up to, which made it confusing, and it's not the same as him liking something at one time and then regretting it later. It's not the same. The screenshot that he's showing where she says that she does not know how to feel about the interaction a couple of days after it happened does not mean that she liked it, because if she liked it, she would have been clear, and not knowing how she feels shows that she potentially had a bad experience with George. If this screenshot of her talking about her experience a couple of days later means that she liked it, then Kaiti reading her diary that she wrote a couple of days after showing that she hated the experience should matter just as much, and in my opinion more than this text or screenshot George is trying to show. I can also acknowledge that Kaiti might not feel comfortable being open with the person she sent the text to, because lo and behold, that person leaked a conversation that was not up to them to leak to someone like George, who is using it against Kaiti. So Kaiti probably didn't feel comfortable talking about it, talking about how she honestly felt to this person who probably is a stranger and is in cahoots with George and his friends. Like, let's be serious right now. I think the reason why Kaiti lost public opinion is because most of the fans, or most of the people who consume the kind of content both George and Kaiti make, are not the type of people who would defend or stand by a victim. They are the kind of people that would allow a person like Dream to get away with multiple grooming allegations. It is easier, in my opinion, to call out somebody, for example, in the beauty community of sexual assault than it would be to come out against a Twitch or a Minecraft YouTuber, because the community is different. The beauty community is a lot more willing to support a victim than the Minecraft YouTuber community, and that's why I think Kaiti lost the public opinion. I am sorry that this is what Kaiti's reality is like. She said that this will affect her forever and might overshadow her career, and she's not even sure if she wants to continue a career like this. And this is more than just turning off her phone, because this is her reality and she can't turn off herself, and she cannot turn off her feelings. George is going to forgive himself to make himself feel better, with the justification that those were not his intentions. It is very telling on who is telling the truth and has clearly been affected by this if you look at how both of them are walking away from this situation. George is trying to treat this as a lesson on how to interact with people in the future, but for Kaiti, this will continue to be a stain on her life, even if she does or does not continue with this career. And I just want to remind everyone that it is never going to ruin the mood to ask for consent, and there is nothing wrong with taking your time to getting to know the person you are trying to have adult relations with. This is Chronic Seed, and I hope you have a good rest of your